All right, all. So I spent some of yesterday, some of this morning, tallying my heavyweights records from boxing time. Many of these records are amassed in playtesting of the heavyweight ratings before I put them on my cards for my stuff. Many of these heavyweights are rated and have been re-rated and tweaked that are in the free boxing time handout, but these are particular boxers that I had been playing with and had, in a way, were play testing to kind of get the ratings. So this is my Big Country Boxing Federation current standings for those who are curious. Sullivan is the current champ. He is 13-3 overall. Ali is 8-3. He's number one contender. Number two contender is Tunney at 9-0. So there might be those who've asked, why haven't you seen Tunney on the table? Well, because his 9-0 record was amassed against fictional tomato cans. So I don't endeavor to make how do I say this? I have zero interest in creating real life boxers who sucked, if that makes sense. I mean, why would I want to go make, journeyman, real life professional boxers and try to rate those guys who went, 32-21? And I have no interest in making, footnotes in boxing history. I hate to say it that way because I respect any human being who, as a profession, climbs in the ring and faces another man in a combat sport. So I don't like to belittle any human being who devoted their life to such a difficult way of survival. So I have, again, many of you know, I have a pretty large, not large, but I have a universe of fictional lightweights, middleweights, and heavyweights. The top 10 in all of these are in the books. And then the others are, at one point I had released them in a large file. Said, here's all the boxers I've been playtesting with. I don't know what happened to that file, if it's still out there somewhere, or if I even have it in my old files. Again, a lot of the stuff that I normally would have up on Google Drive, some of it has been removed, and then my Windows 10 machine. For those who don't know, I lost my Windows 10 computer a few months ago, and with it lost lots of files, old files and stuff that some of them are archived on my thumb drives and on my old hard drives, and some of them I've lost forever. And I think my collection of all of these guys in a file is somewhere in my archives. My point is, they're not readily handy on the computer to put them up and say, here's all the boxers. But some of you out there may actually have retained these original boxers when I put out the file free in support of the games. All right, let's get back to it. So Tunney is 9-0, but he has fought fictional tomato. You'll see here. So for those who don't know, because this is based on fictional career play, you're supposed to make a heavyweight boxer and fight up a career ladder. So, of course, there's a lot of beginner fighters at the heavyweights, right? You're going to start with the worst rated fighter. For instance, one of the worst rated fighters here is a 5 rating. Muhammad Ali's a 26. This guy's a 5. It gives you an idea of, Muhammad Ali is that much better. So I give all these fighters a chance, unless I'm in the mood, and I'll sit down. Let's say there was a time I sat down and said, I'm going to play Foreman against Frazier, and they ended in an actual draw. And Jack Dempsey had a draw with Joe Louis. So in all of my fights using boxing time, there's only been 2 draws in all my history, which is pretty cool. So anyway, long story short, Ali is 8-3, and why is he number 1? Because he's actually, I started off, when I started my entire little career, Ali, I set as the champ, the greatest. I set him as the champ, partially because he's rated at 26. He's already the highest rated boxer, and I set him as the champ. In the free file that you can grab off Lulu, Jack Johnson is my highest rated boxer. I have since gone through and scrutinized all those boxers, and Jack Johnson has been re-rated. So Jack Johnson's no longer here in my card file as the highest rated boxer. As I did some research and really looked at Jack Johnson and made some tweaks to Jack Johnson's ratings. So Ali ended up the highest rated. So in long story short, when I sat down to start this a year or so ago. And some of these, by the way, some of these fights are still held over from my playtesting. So I didn't want to scrap these. You know, I want to scrap stuff I do. When I play a game, I like it to count. I like to keep it. And so I try to do it. If I do it wrong, I do it wrong. But I try to. And if it's a play test, so be it. It's a play test. The play tests never change that much. It isn't like all of a sudden Mike Tyson's his power is going to go from an A to a D because of play testing or something. So anyway, long story short, Ali's my #1 ranked contender, 8-3. He started as champ and lost, I think. Ali was 2, so he won 2 before he lost. So he only defended his belt twice. So at 8-3, he was heavyweight champ, defended his title twice, and then lost. I can't offhand remember. I think he lost to Marvin Hart. That's how Marvin Hart ended up even in. Because I said, what the hell? I wanted to make some guys that aren't superstars, and Hart beat him. So ironically, Hart was champ, I think, for 2 fights. So Hart was 2-1 as well as a champ. I can't remember who he beat. Okay. Long story short, well, he beat Ali and then defended his title. So Ali, 8-3. Tunney is 9-0, but has yet to fight any of these important historical fighters. So we just don't know. But Tunney is rated very well. Jack Johnson's 5-0. Joe Louis is 5-0-1, having tied Foreman. Foreman is 5-1-1. Foreman, I believe, lost to I think Ali. I think I had a Foreman Ali fight already. I can't remember. Frazier 3-1-1. Frazier I've just not used much. I don't know why. Just haven't. Sonny Liston. Why has he got so many fights? Because when he won my title, actually I think Liston is the one who beat Ali, not Hart. I think Liston beat Hart, and then Liston held the title defense for 7 fights before he lost. Remember, he was my record holder. Liston held my record for 7 straight title defenses before Sullivan has had this amazing run. So Liston has 14. He's 14-4 because 7 of his fights came as the heavyweight title defense. So that's why he has so many. So what ends up? Why does Sullivan have so many? Because once they win, I generally have guys fight for a shot to fight them, or I'll just decide, okay, it's time to give Tony a shot at Sullivan. And so Sullivan collects, these guys will collect more, because I usually, when I have my heavyweight champ, I'd like to challenge my heavyweight champ. I like to make all the fights important, so to speak. There's nothing, the hardest part about a boxing game is just playing games that are boxing fighters. You just don't have a lot of, there's not a lot. Why I want to amass records is so then it matters. I kind of have a clue. Like at Tunney right now in my universe, 9-0. But everyone knows he hasn't fought anyone here. So would it be fair to put him at 2? Well, I did, because his ratings, and he's undefeated. And the way he went about beating some of these tomato cans. And I think he also beat Patterson at some point. Oh, Tyson. And he beat Tyson at some point. So, no, I don't think I fought him against. I can't remember. I do have all the records somewhere, but anyway, so Frazier's 3-1-1. He just hasn't been on my table a lot. Liston, because he was the heavyweight champ, ended up getting a lot of fights, 14-4. Ken Norton, 7-2. Charles, 12-6. Charles defended the belt 6 times, I believe. Where's Charles defended his title 6 times, so that's why Charles has 18 fights. Marciano's 4-4. You've seen every fight I've done. Oddly enough, Marciano, again, I've said it before, I've talked about this in the past, I generally don't use Marciano in games because he went 49-0, and it just seems sacrilegious to see undefeated boxers lose, although they're fighting guys they'd never fought, so it's personal. It's like, it seems weird to have Marciano at 4-4. It just feels sacrilegious, so to speak. It's heresy. How is Marciano 4-4? Well, it's because he's fought Mali, and he's fought, and he's lost twice to Sullivan, which is just crazy as shit. Sullivan is just, and he's only rated, I think, a 19, but he's in the groove, man. He's raking in dough. All right, anyway, so Charles is 12-6. Marciano's 4-4. Larry Holmes, that ain't right. 4-5. I think Holmes is worse than that. Where's Larry? This is, for those who are curious, why do I have two? This is all the fighters that I've been using. And by the way, this isn't all of my fictional boxers. These are the tomato cans I generally start my heavyweights against to amass records, and then they start fighting each other. If not, I would have all these boxers looking more like Marciano 4-4, because they're all so well rated. You're going to have, I wouldn't even call them upsets. Marciano losing to Ali is not an upset, but Ali losing to Marciano I wouldn't call an upset either. They're just great fighters. So I try to amass some kind of record to give them depth before, and so I have a certain. But all of these fighters, if I use my big country, which I haven't tallied, all these fighters have a lot more fights because they're fighting all of my heavyweights that I build in my fictional world. So this is just their records against my playtest heavies when I was doing my playtest. So okay, so long story short, Holmes is 4. So anyway, those who are curious, Marciano's 4-4. Every single fight can be seen on the channel because I only drug him out of off my Holy Grail pedestal to take down Sullivan in Sullivan's record-breaking 8th title defense, or a chance to be in 8 title defenses. And since then, Marciano has lost 2 to Sullivan. So anyway, 4-4. Marciano's 4-4, and just lost to Ali and Charles yesterday in the video that I did. So he's lost 4 fights in the last 8. He's literally 4-4 in the last 8 fights that I've put on the channel. Holmes is 4-5, and again, I thought Holmes was worse. Oh no, here he's 4-5. Yeah, so he's 4-5. He went 0-1. So Holmes had 1 title defense. He took the title, I think. I can't remember, from Hart. Maybe he took the title from Hart, and then promptly lost the title in his first defense. So this is just their defense. This isn't their heavyweight record. This is their defense. And that's why they all have 1, because when they lost the title, none of these guys have repeated yet as champs. Ali is going to get a shot at Sullivan probably today or tomorrow, and that's a chance for Ali to become heavyweight champ for the 2nd time. So, okay, what else do we got here? So Holmes is 4-5. The real shocker, and this is Patterson's 12-3. Had a fun run with Patterson. He held the belt. He had a title defense of 4 fights before he lost, so not bad. Dempsey 2-4-1. Tyson 4-7. There's just something about Tyson's defense. When I rated Tyson's defense, and again, I try to rate him on their entire history, but again, some of this stuff, his peekaboo defense was pretty formidable, but later in his career, he just didn't seem to defend himself very well. So I kind of rated Tyson based on his career, not based on what he did in his height. These guys aren't rated for their peak. If they were rated for their peak, they would all be outstanding. You got to rate them for their career, because that's the only way we start to see we need a larger sample size. So I hate it when guys rate boxers that were 21-0. Well, that sample size is too small to be rating those guys that only have 21 fights. Now, if their career was over, they went 21-0 and they won the title and died in a car accident, yeah, give them some love, But rating boxers is so difficult to do, especially older boxers. We don't have a lot of information other than that they fought in a certain weight and they were their record, Deontay Wilder 9-4, and why is Wilder in my say? You think, why did you make Wilder? Well, Wilder was one of the boxers I created for our boxing league. We had a misunderstanding. I thought Kevin drafted Deontay Wilder, so I rated him in our American Boxing League, expecting Wilder to fight in that league along with Tyson, etc. And so I made that Wilder. So I probably would not. You notice there's no Tyson Fury. I don't have modern boxers. I rarely rate modern boxers, especially boxers that are still fighting, because I don't have as great a context. When a boxer is still fighting, we don't have great context on them yet, right? So Vladimir, I have Klitschko rated and things for ABL because John Turnbull had Klitschko in our league, but I haven't fought Klitschko at all in the ABL other than in boxing time, other than in our ABL. So he would be, I think Tyson Fury, when I use boxing time for our American Boxing League, only for a couple of fight cards, I think he's 2-0 in my league. but I don't have him here because he's not fought any of these other fighters. So these are only the champs that are the real heavyweights I have, and then of course they fight some of my fictional tomato cans. So long story short, they not all fought each other. So they have to have fought. They have to have shared something in common. Common opponents, I guess would be the way to put it. So anyway, so Tyson at 4-7 is a shocker. Again, Tyson did not get to fight any tomato cans. Every fight I've had with Tyson, I've had him fight a matchup that I wanted to see, and he has just not fared very well. If I fought Tyson against all these tomato cans, I'm sure he would be, he would be 20-7 or 19-7. So it looks bad. 4-7 looks bad, but that's because he hasn't had the luxury of any of this padding. Tunney, for instance, at 9-0, I think all but one of these fights were against padding. So Tunney has built a record, as has Johnson. That really have been against patty cakes, right? Okay. Then we have Jersey Joe, 7-3. Jersey Joe defended the title. Walcott defended his title 5 times. Patterson defended the title 5 times. Charles defended the title 6. Liston 8 times, lost in his 8th, but he holds the record for 7 until Sullivan, who's undefeated in title defenses. He is 9-0 in title defenses. And by the way, all those title defenses come against his peers, true peers. So Sullivan has been a fantastic experience. And again, if you look at his ratings, he's just had the gumption to stay in the top, Then we have Hart, 4-3. And then I have my tomato cans. We have an 0-6, an 0-14, an 0-11, a 4-12, a 3-10. So Wilson and Fields have found ways to beat some of our peerless up at the top, which is nuts. And then this is, I can't remember his name, Freddie Jackson, 0-12, and then Felton, 0-17. Felton is the single worst rated boxer. He's the very first boxer. And I usually test all of the heavyweights I create in my career, and I usually start padding records with Felton. So Felton's seen 17, again, only against this crew. Felton has more losses than this because of my heavyweights, but my heavyweights aren't in here. This is my universe for my real life boxers, but I use some of my fictional tomato cans to get them going. At some point, I might blend my world, my BC. The problem is too, I also consider all of my fighters that I make that it's the 1940s or 50s. And by the way, for those who are curious, I'm working on it. I'm currently rating 1948 real-time boxers. So there will be an addendum coming out called Big Country Boxing Time Extended, and it's all of the boxers of 1948, the top 20 heavies, the top 20 middles, the top 20 lightweights. They're real boxers, and they were all active during 1948. It includes the gold medal winners, silver medal winners, and the bronze medal winners, and it includes some unrated boxers. But I've rated all the heavyweights. I've still got to do the middleweights and the lightweights. These were only boxers in real life that were active during that 1948 window, that were ranked by the Ring Magazine, NBA. So they're actually the top 20 boxers rated by Ring Magazine, and they were active in 1948. I'll be releasing that to be a direct support document for the Big Country Universe 1948. This assumes all these sports kick off and are at least active in 1948. So I thought it would be fun to have historical boxers of literally that were alive and active in that era only. So when you make your boxer and you want to play like it's 1948, you would have all these fictional 40s, 50s boxers in lights, middles, and heavies. And then of course you would have the NBA, the National Boxing Association, top-ranked boxers of 1948. Right, which was basically Rocky Marciano's rookie year. Rocky Marciano debuted as a heavyweight in June or July of 1948. It is the birth. It's kind of the birth. It was the first year in which Marciano arrived in heavyweight boxing. So anyway, long story short, I got boxers from all eras in my this set. For those who've been following along anyway, of late, Sullivan's title defense. He's 13-3, and since he's become heavyweight champ, he has won 9 fights, 8 of them knockouts, folks. So Sullivan right now truly has been the best heavyweight I've had so far. However, again, guys like Tunney are just getting into the action. Jack Johnson and Tunney haven't fought any of these guys yet. Joe Louis and Foreman have fought and had a draw. Frazier fought with Dempsey and had a draw. And then Liston, Norton, a lot of these guys, they took the heavyweight title at some point and then they defended it. So, like Wilder has no heavyweight title defenses. Marciano clearly doesn't. Foreman doesn't. Frazier, these guys haven't even had a shot at the title. So it might be unfair, but Foreman, Frazier, Tunney, Tyson, Johnson, Dempsey, and Lewis none of them have had a shot at being the heavyweight champ. So this is what's going to be fun now. Sullivan is 9-0. I feel like I have to give Ali a chance to get it back. And then it'll be, again, interesting to see how Sullivan earns his way back to the title through some of these guys that haven't really had a fair shake yet. Right? It's just the way it's going down. I don't schedule fights to, I don't sit down and say, okay, I want Ali to get 8 fights, Tunney to get 8. I fight what looks fun. I count it. And, of course, Tunney, I purposely start many of these fighters against tomato cans just to pad a record a little bit here. Tyson and Holmes kind of got screwed as they literally just both got a shot at the heavyweight title. And if they won it, most of Holmes' fights might have been heavyweight defenses. No, he only had 1 heavyweight defense and he lost it. So Holmes has had 9 fights, only 1 as the heavyweight title holder. Marciano is 4-4, so never had a shot at the title. Tyson at 4-7. I may have fought Tyson against Ken Norton or somebody, and he lost that because if not, Tyson would show up here. Tyson would have shown up as a title defender if he'd won. But a couple of these losses, I think, were to, well, Sonny Liston, I think he lost to. Floyd Patterson, I think he lost to. So I gave Tyson, I think, 2 shots of becoming champ. There's not a big, it's difficult to have kind of a paradigm until you start amassing records. So the best paradigm to use, if you were to start raw with no records, would be to use their rating. Sullivan's a 21 rated boxer. Muhammad Ali's a 26. So you would put them in order. As a matter of fact, I had them in order for a long time. So Foreman, Frazier, you would put them in order. Tunney is a 23. Jack Johnson's a 23. And again, in the free set that you can download from Lulu, he's a 28. And then I thought, man, 28 for Jack Johnson seems really high. So I did some research and learned a little more about him, and I re-rated him. He's now a 23. I think Jack Johnson now is fairly rated at a 23. Joe Louis is a 25. Ali's a 26. Jack Dempsey's a 24. Mike Tyson's a 23. So you can order them, and then Hart's a 15. Patterson 19. Ezra Charles is a 20. Sonny Liston's a 21. Marciano's a 24. And Marciano just can't get over his defense of D. And again, there'll be many people who probably say the dude went 49-0. How do you give him a defensive D? I don't know. It's hard. Again, I've said it before. Difficult to rate boxers. But when I watch Dempsey's old fights, he doesn't display to me a desire to defend himself so much as a desire to get in there and beat the shit out of who he's fighting. So again, it's the best guess for me to rate some of these guys, right? I mean, I'm not pretending that I'm a historian, but I do research these guys. I pull up their records, I research them. I'll pull up fights if there's some fights on YouTube. I'll try to watch the fights, and I try to read what historians have said about these guys. It's very difficult to rate boxers because we don't have just raw data. We just don't. Now, you can base your game on raw data, like Kevin Elias in Fordyce Championship Boxing does. He just uses straight raw data. He doesn't think about whether they deserve to have more points or less points, or whether they should be, you know what I mean? He bases it totally on there, and he has a formula. And if a guy rates out at 125, he rates out at 125. He rates out at a 72, whether you like it or not, he rates out as a 72. That's the same thing, in a way, John Turnbull has done with fight card boxing. He just takes the data, crunches it through through the game engine and says, sorry if you don't like it. This guy has a 94 work rate. You may not agree with it, but that's how he comes out. I do attempt, unfortunately, and not unfortunately, I think there has to be some subjectivity, because there's just not enough good raw data. But it's not impossible to know. You know, we can guess that Ali and Sullivan, right? What would be the difference? I mean, we're talking about just a different era of human athlete, right? You know, between these two guys, and we're talking about an era where now we've got guys like Tyson Fury at 6 foot. What is he? 6'9"? You know, I mean, those are truly giants. I mean, some of these guys are giants at 6'8" and 6'7". So again, and they're modern athletes. They train with modern techniques. They eat better. They have supplements and diet programs. They know how to, you know. And so the modern athlete is definitely tough to gauge fairly against. You know, Babe Ruth was a hard drinking, heavy eating, cigar smoking, pot bellied badass. But you know, would Babe Ruth fare like that against today's pitchers and defenders? Yeah, I don't know. And against today's batters, I mean, who am I to say, right? So we have to gauge. I think anybody who understands the tabletop, unless you're going to put you're going to make every single boxing season and rate every single boxer relative to what they actually did against each other. That's the only way to have a truly accurate boxing. I would have to take 1948 and say, okay, all of these boxers were alive and they all boxed each other and rate them relative. And then the problem with that is some boxers fought for 20 years, so it would be just rated for 48. So what I'm doing for my new 1948 real life active boxers, I'm rating them based on their career, but I'm putting only in the guys that were actually rated by Ring Magazine, the NBA, and were active in 1948, but I'm not rating them on 1948. I'm rating them on their career, but I'm putting them all in one package. So they were all real boxers that actually were fighting each other and fighting in the world at the time, and then you can fight them against whatever heavyweights you make, and feel like you're in a universe that features the National Boxing Association, and you could have your own boxing association in which they could try to unify belts, things like that. I haven't rated the middles and the lightweights yet for that. I've got the heavyweights rated. I just haven't done the middles and the heavies yet. Anyway, I thought I'd bring a bit of update. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people, I don't think there's a whole ton of boxing fans out there. There's certainly not a lot that probably watch my channel for boxing. I've said it before. My first love as a kid was boxing. I fell in love and watched boxing with my father years before I really got into football. I would say at 7 is when football entered my consciousness with the Orange Crush, and I was 7 when I watched my first Super Bowl, and I fell in love with football. But boxing really was my favorite sport until I was playing football in my teens. I started playing in junior high. I didn't play Pee Wee football. We literally went to junior high. My first year in junior high, I entered physically playing football. Now, I played football on the street with my buddies, and we played tabletop games and stuff. But that's when my passion for football became number one in my life, when I actually started playing football. And then later, wanting to coach football and created my own tabletop game, etc. Football was this obsession with me in my 20s and 30s. I was totally obsessed with football in my 20s and 30s. So, and boxing had vanished in a way from my life as a fan because I wasn't going to pay for pay-per-view. I thought boxing had been kind of corrupted by Don King. Those are all personal opinions and observations. Take them as you will as to whether there's, again, one's personal view of things is not necessarily the truth of things. Like basketball, I gave up on pro basketball decades ago because I think it's turned into a sport I find very little joy in modern basketball. Even collegiate basketball, I have very little joy in it anymore. There doesn't appear to be a lot of tradition left in college sports at all. So anyway, I've gotten off my mark, but I thought for those who are following along what I've been doing with boxing of late, I thought I would go ahead and fill you in on what I do have. It took me quite a while to go through all my old papers and notebooks and put all this together. I might be missing a fight or two that were lost, that were loose leaf and they were lost, and I never put them in notebooks. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I'm missing 2 to 5% of all the fights I've done with both my play testing and with my play testing of these heavies. So there's some missing, I guarantee there's some missing data here because they were on loose leaf paper that got thrown out or got lost or got filed in my storage shed in the wrong box, affixed to the wrong history of baseball or something. Like this folder, for instance, has baseball in it, boxing, my current boxing I've been doing in it, the current baseball I'm doing, and the current basketball I'm doing is in here. So there's a chance when I've filled this, when this thing's too full, I put a zip tie through it, I put a cover sheet on it and date it, I put a zip tie through it, and I put it in a box that goes in the shed. So there's a chance that I have other packages like that in the shed that had boxers, that had a few boxing matches during those months that I was like this is my active folder for February, January, February. So there's no football in it because I haven't been playing football in February at all outside of the Super Bowl pre-match. So there's been zero football on my table for weeks. It's been all boxing, a little basketball, and a little baseball, and hockey. I've been playing a little hockey. So anyway, long story short, matter of fact, what is this? For instance, see, this is how stuff gets lost too. Yeah, see, these are my basketball games, and they're just folded and stuck in there. They really should be. So that was a reminder, you need to put these in here. So I just folded them and stuffed them in. So I'm organized, but it's organized chaos. Hey, everybody out there, have a fantastic remainder of your week. Good day.